working the agenda a little bit. If you look at the agenda, we had our executive committee prior to, because we needed to do that for Joseph to be here at 10. He wasn't, but anyway,
Yeah.
we did that.
It's in the minute. It'll be in the minute.
It is. So that one's done. Then down here at B, it says review breakout session results. We haven't had the non-executive committee, but I've just basically said to those who are at the executive committee, they won't hang around for the last 4 to 6, and we'll do the non-executive recruiting and stuff like that at the end. So we're just jumping down. Essentially, that non-executive bundle is going to go to the end.
Okay. So
And-
we're going to the board and committee structures.
It was right before that review breakout session. So we'll review what we did in the executive, which was the financials. So looking at sponsorship is the beginning of this. Just kind of going down the list. So everyone's got this, right? Okay. Wakefield Crowbar, we still have outstanding promises that we've made, and that was the 2 fundraisers I talked about us doing there. Whew, sounds bad.
Oh, Joseph's back.
Is he?
Oh.
I've brought
Oh
back.
my God.
So we still owe them a fundraiser
Yeah,
before we get any more money
Sounds
from
like
them.
yeah. Yeah, so they're an annual, so we still have things to do before they'll do our draft again next year. JR's, we don't think will come back. We had a very poor showing at that one. George's will come back. They really love their event. Carpet World is going to come back as well. Eagle, we're not going to approach them again.
I don't think so. Nobody showed up.
Wava Lamp, we're not going to approach them again. However, both of those I want to incorporate into our Bayou City Brawl to do like a registration Friday evening at Wava Lamp and do a crawfish boil Sunday after the games on the Bayou City Brawl weekend and have fundraising activities at that. Specifically, I want to do an arm wrestling tournament at Guava. They do a thing on Facebook where they live stream it and anyone can enter and you raise money. They did about $1,000 with the veterans doing that. So I'd like to do that with our registration so teams can show up and their players can get up there and arm wrestle and compete. And anyone else can as well. And then the crawfish, we would sell crawfish. I'll try and see who Eagle is sponsoring on softball, see if they want to team up, maybe sell beer, but we'll be selling the crawfish and getting the revenue from that. So I think with those revenue streams, the Bayou City Brawl may do a little better financially. But I don't plan on approaching either of those on sponsorship. Phoenix on Westheimer, I do think we can return to for the spring. Heights Insurance, no, that's an annual one that he does once. Balls Out Burger, I said yeah.
I think I can get them
Okay.
to give us $500 more. We just have to, give a nice event. But since we sold out, I think we went twice for coaches meeting and then for the other thing, and
Yeah.
each time we sold out the burgers.
Yeah, they ran out of meat.
Yeah,
It's-
that's what I'm saying.
We may want to address that too. And then John Cox, I think if he gets a promotion at work, we should approach him for money.
So that's no. Strike that one off.
So I did put an X by that one. Corey
We might need
Logan.
to give him money.
However, Corey Logan is John's dentist, so next time he's getting a cavity drilled, he's going to talk to him about, hey,
I'm
you
a
know, it'd be
Swiss name
nice.
too as well.
Are you?
Yeah.
Good. Let him know where you came from.
Right here.
You know.
Michigan.
And so I've got Corey Logan down for another 500. Fortress Shield, that's Roy, another 500. By the way, he bought out John. He's now the sole proprietor of Fortress Shield Security. Griff's, I don't want to approach yet. We still need to do some stuff there. That's why I'm putting all that
Really?
St. Patrick's Day. We haven't done anything but a travel team
And a
send-off
bunch of
party.
board
A bunch of board
I was
bunch
gonna
of
say,
board
we've
meetings.
done a lot of stuff.
But they gave a
with them.
$1,000 contribution.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
All those steak nights we've been over there.
Yeah, there's $1,000. Also, I think
I mean,
St.
I thought they
Patrick's
were
Day.
pretty happy with us. I mean, you could ask Hunter, but every time I've gone there, the ladies are, always seem real happy with us.
No, they are. They are. I just think they expect us to continue to do stuff with them for the year because
Well-
they're $1,000 level.
Well, and I agree. I think anytime someone gives more than $1,000, they need more than one
Yeah.
event.
Right.
Whatever
Yeah.
the event is, and
Yeah.
whoever
I almost look at them as a
sponsors.
fall and spring sponsor.
Yeah, you always. I mean, pug events after a pug event.
Mhm.
But the St. Patty's thing is a good idea
Yeah.
because they're
It's
they're
a-
huge.
It's a turnkey social we can do. You just send everybody there. They say hi, wear your hurricane stuff after.
Yeah, we don't
We
need
celebrate jello shots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We don't need them to give us money for that.
No.
We just need
No.
to give us your logo. That's what
Right.
we're doing.
Right. So that's how I go back to them. And then Hamburger Mary's wants to re-up already,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's good.
They're real happy with us.
None of the travel team, I mean, those are travel sponsors. Neon Boots was hit really hard by Harvey. Their business is really down.
Yeah,
I will approach them because he said come back later. He couldn't get it done this time. I did put him down as 500. And then time well wasted, maybe, but we're not putting any money in the budget for it. ULA's,
I
no.
thought we did.
Ula's,
Okay.
Didn't they say they come
But
back?
if you
Ula's
can,
might
great.
be, it might be a maybe. Give them
Okay.
a question mark. I'll still
Okay.
approach them
Can we
again.
find a way to create a lower sponsorship level where we don't give them an event? Maybe we just give them $2.
Well,
I
the
think you were
lowest
gonna-
they can
board
get
meeting?
a tax write-off is 250.
The thing is, what are you gonna take, well, okay, so you got all these non,
Or you could, they even do in the softball league, they could actually make donations less than 250, and then within that year, once it adds up to 250, it then becomes a tax write-off. So some people might donate $100 more than 50 another time.
Mario.
I mean, that's a weird thing, but
Mackie.
the thing I don't wanna do though is take our non-bar sponsors and allow them to drop. So if we set anything up, I don't want it to become what our non-bar sponsors choose, because I'm already getting 500 from them, I wanna continue to do that.
Do we have
So
a
if we
sheet that
get,
describes the tiers?
yeah,
Okay.
We have a whole fundraising package.
Packet.
I'd like to see it.
and I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, Bud Light is one I want to approach again. Sorry, I skipped down. Riches, I did not include them. If we do something, I think it needs to be around Bayou City Brawl, so we get a good turnout there. Texas Cheers, a no. He's still in debt. Crocker TCs, I put no.
yeah, no, they're not gonna.
Although Jamin works there now. Neil's
It
Bar,
doesn't
I
matter.
put
I
no.
can promise you
Where's
no.
Jim working at?
Crocker. F Bar, Jimmy Choo, obviously
closed.
no.
Doing what?
Pearl Bar, I think.
I think we can get Julie again.
I don't want to.
No, we need
I-
to have
I-
a women's thing.
I committed after the discussions we had. I told her I'm not going to come back for sponsorship until we can do some fundraising and bring her business. So we can come back there, but we need to make a showing. I don't think she'll sponsor.
Yeah.
I just don't. She put $700 out. We had 2 events there. She opened early for them, so it cost her money to do it. In addition to the $500, and she paid for food at both of them for $100 each, and got nowhere near
Don't they
that.
do
So
steaks on Tuesday?
they do, and we.
Can't we just do it on those
We've
Tuesdays?
done some steak nights there, but specifically what we need is if we did a women's travel team or something like that, that team could just begin going there,
Yeah.
make that thing.
That-
We don't have, we show up for one event 1 year, per year. It's not going to be. She wants people to start using that as their venue, and we're not going to get that because we have a predominantly male and straight league.
Yeah, not until we get more women in the
Right.
league. Now, granted, we might still talk to her, maybe not about doing about actually giving us money for sponsorship, but maybe, like he said, doing like a recruitment event on a Tuesday night when they're having their steak night. All the lesbians are out eating their meat. So, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's ironic
Yeah.
that like gay lesbian bar is a steak night. They should have a fish night.
No, girl, they like their
They
meat.
eat enough fish.
Yeah, they're full of fish.
True story.
All right, Heights Beer House we didn't approach, but that's the one that's out there. We can probably try and go toward. Brian Taft and Transpo, that's Sean. I didn't put anything there. Bud Light is one we need our nonprofit back. How's that going, Perry? It's still pending the nonprofit status.
So pending, yeah.
Okay, and that would allow us to go into our corporate. Basically, you have to file a 990. This last year when we sent it in, they never received what we mailed. This time we did it online, and we have, I guess,
Yeah, we have
evidence of that. If
yeah.
and we know they're processing it, but it's into about January before they'll do it. And Texas Lady Jags, I just took off here. So long and short of it is we have about 4,000.
And we need about 7,000.
Right.
Actually, for spring, no. For spring, we said 4,000.
So let's go ahead and pop up.
Oh,
if
that's
we can
right.
look in
That's
here,
right. Because spring is going to cost us less because we're going to
and I'll just walk everyone.
go down to fewer teams. And,
Y'all want to come in here? We'll put it over and over here.
I mean, we can see it from here.
So one thing I would, when we go create our jerseys, how much would it cost on average per jersey?
It depends on the jersey. The fall is more expensive because they're individual orders. Because
individual logos.
it's individual logos, so it really like this fall. It was like we were ordering 7 different orders because it's. But for the spring, everyone has just Hurricanes.
The Hurricanes
and,
across
this,
the front.
and the
And
back,
all
all the
the
sponsors are on the
sponsors
back. So it's the same design across. It's just different colors.
Okay.
So the springs are cheaper, but
One thing that DC does that has locked in one of our sponsors forever, basically, is every year, in addition to the jersey, everybody gets a T-shirt that has just Houston Hurricanes and whatever major sponsor you have, just one, maybe 2. And the idea is that you now have 100 people who
Walking
have
around
an
every
extra
day.
shirt. And if I'm always wearing a football shirt, and 90% of my T-shirts are something that has Nellies across the back. And after every 4 or 5 seasons. Now I've got 5 different shirts. I could be wearing 5 different days, and that's 100 people times just walking around, and so it becomes synonymous with gay sports. And that bar got so much out of the football league that they now sponsor softball teams, they sponsor the volleyball league, just because now the entire city's walking around with their logo on the back.
So the award shirt that I did for the winning of the league, it's just a one color front, one color back, and that averaged about $11 a shirt.
Okay.
I was like $11 with that.
I mean, if we can get a sponsor who's willing to cover just the shirt,
Can you all see it?
$1,200.
This is our overhead cost.
I can see that.
So this is where we set that fundraising goal for you. So this is your overhead for just January to June. Can you scroll down a little?
Oh, you want January, okay, yeah, this is our budget for over here, yeah.
Okay, so 3,000 sponsorship. We put in, just like you're talking about for merchandising, it's t-shirt sales. We put in, what? 150.
That's running for sales.
Yeah.
Just buying these extra shirts with registration.
And then you have a
Just one
cost of 100 down there.
low for spring.
You have a cost of 100 going in that, so you're only netting about $50. But if this is an opportunity to get our name out and a sponsor, great.
Yeah.
But essentially, rather than selling them an event, you're selling them that shirt sponsorship, right? Okay. And then we would have that as something you can package in your order when you register.
Yeah, well, because like, I know people that would have bought this shirt.
Yep. Absolutely.
I have 5 friends that would have bought this shirt if we had put more of it. And if we did just that on the front and a sponsor on the back, a major sponsor, rather than all the names that like we have, put the sponsor stuff on there.
Yeah.
On top of the like turnaround, on top of the Texas thing. Well, I don't know how it would work, but.
Okay.
I know
So
you-
moving into the other expenses. Moving in, can you go up? Okay. So we've got 100 for the shirts. 100 for total merchandise is 100.
Oh, you want to go back up, sorry.
Yeah, okay, so 100 is banking fees that'll hit, board meeting is 100, that's our annual meeting, although we spent 200 today. Dues of 250. 200 today. Dues, over that maybe.
I don't
250.
remember voting on that. I don't think we.
They're not charging y'all rent.
Insurance is $600, that'll hit this first 6 months. And then miscellaneous costs of $250. Fundraising expense to get to the 3,000 is $750. And our storage unit hits, and that's $1,000. We're gonna go up to one bigger one this year. And rather than right now, we have 2 smaller ones.
What's the
but-
miscellaneous expense?
Miscellaneous expenses is random stuff that comes up, like for these past 2 months we had to order checks. We had to order new checks plus that the extra $200 fee that we had for the reapplying, and then we also had the late fee for the franchise tax.
So just unbudgeted, it's like a
It's unbudgeted.
contingency.
Yeah.
And then the fundraising is what we put out of pocket in order to make money.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
like printing cards, printing,
Yeah.
yeah, that kind of stuff.
So essentially, your budget is to net $2250 on fundraising activities that we put together. And I'll be working.
All right, go for the test.
All right?
I got 12,000 in DC, so.
Yeah, 2250 really is.
Well, that's just fundraising. That's not
Yeah.
the sponsors.
Gotcha. So,
So this is just overhead.
so how have we done fundraising in the past outside of sponsors?
Spongy.
Well, we've got the DC, the Bayou City Brawl, the Dodgeball Tournament, Volleyball Tournament.
We've done auctions. That was one of our, that was our best one.
We did a prior.
This year, we specifically, with so many straight players on our travel teams, kind of went away from that. We talked to the coaches, and we didn't think we would get people to come up there. But your travel teams at an auction is really your most natural.
We did things at Hamburger Mary's, but those were travel team
Yeah.
fundraisers.
That's-
We didn't
that's
really
a
do league fundraisers per se.
Which you and I just need to get together on this.
I want to do an underwear thing where they buy your underwear and you take them off behind the screen.
Yeah.
How smart does that? And it's a lot of money.
What's
the softball team?
M&M, yeah. I'm trying to think of this softball team.
I can't remember, but they
Great.
did it. It was
Let's
accessible.
jump to the next budget. Okay, so this is our spring at 4 teams and at 6. So our referee costs at 4, fields, field ops, jerseys, advertising, so that's recruiting, sponsorship, this is like jerseys that go back to our sponsors, the awards that we're going to have this, we did $1,400 for the fall, we're thinking a smaller one for the spring, but we'll still have it, it's $1,000.
I want to talk about that later too.
Okay. Draft party expenses, permits, nothing there. League apps, fees. So your total cost is around $6,500 for 4. $10,000 for 6.
Okay, now, question for that, is that 3 referees per game or is that
It
2?
is.
No, it's actually, it's calculated there, it's calculated 2.
Because, I mean, our referees cost us more than our fields.
Very.
To me, that's kind of
Okay.
absurd, but
Now it is assuming a 35 per, not 35, 30, 30.
Actually not,
Oh, really?
these two together, it's just field costs.
Yeah, this is our field
Yeah, I know.
and our
I know,
equipment.
but I'm just saying, so
How
it's
much
the
money
3
goes-
referees.
How much money goes to referee alone? It's a lot.
Nice.
But that's what you were saying, 35 each?
But it's a vital
Well,
part
we
of
just
our
had to
league.
put a
It
number in.
is.
I know, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna be a referee next season, so, I mean,
Well, so far for our refs, for the fall season, we're at,
This is through November, so it doesn't count playoffs, right?
exactly. Why can't I read?
Right there, 35, 33,
Oh,
55.
355, that's
Flip back to your screen. It's not
35
too far off of this.
yeah.
Jeez, that's
We're wasting
that's
agenda
way too
time.
much. I used to give like $10.
Okay, so
We've talked to other leagues and other people
Here's
about
your-
what they pay, and they're like, that's not, I mean, that's what they pay.
Because we tried to play less, pay less, and
We started off at 15, and then we went to 20,
I
and
mean, I
then we
know
went to.
half people I knew
Guys,
just don't even know.
and then here's your 4,000 at $50 per person. You pretty much break even, so that's your price point. That's how we got there. Over on 6, it goes to 75 in order to break at 40.
I think 50's too low.
I think that's
I do too.
I think
You
it's
wanna
too low.
generate
I think it needs to be
I want,
65.
yeah, I mean,
65.
I think it needs to be 65.
That's just to calculate break even. It's 65 right now.
It needs
Well,
to be
really, I thought it
65.
was 75 right now.
It was 75, but then when we had the discussion, we all agreed to 65, and I bumped it down. But
And I think it
Then
needs to
let's
stay
do
at
this.
65.
Let's drop the. It's a 65 and make 3,000 our goal. For 4 teams, it's going to be hard to get 8 sponsors happy on 4 teams. It's 4 weeks of play with playoffs.
Yeah.
But we don't want to break even now.
I still think you can get 8 sponsors events or something
In that 4-week period.
in
is what
4
you're
weeks.
saying.
Yeah.
Well, you
Or
wouldn't
you
be
could
able
drag
to.
it
You'd have
out.
to do things
It
otherwise.
doesn't have to be that week though. We can give them an event.
In the
Well,
summer.
And you also
like
only
month
have
before.
56 players with 4 teams.
How soon are we?
Well,
how soon are we drawing teams for spring season?
It's on the calendar we just agreed to.
I think the key is that just because we only have 56
It's in
people
January. I
playing,
think
we
like
only have
January
56
9th or
people
something.
coming to the socials. Like, I might not be able to play in the spring season, but I still want to go
Yeah.
to a social event. So it's something marketing to our entire group, which we think about the entire group.
But
I
I
see.
think it's safer to, if we're good with this price point of 65 for 4 weeks of play, that's 7 games they're getting for $65.
No, that's 8 games they're getting for $65.
Well, I guess you
Plus
do get 2 in the
playoffs.
playoffs.
It's 5
Plus
plus one.
playoffs.
It's 3 weeks of play.
No, 4 weeks of play.
No, it's 5 weeks. It doesn't
Yes.
have a calendar.
There's 4 teams. You play the other teams twice each. That's 3 weeks.
You
You don't play yourself. So the 4th team, when you have 4 teams, you have 3 weeks of regular season where you play the other 3 teams twice.
We do have 5 weeks of play on here.
You do have 5 weeks.
Yeah, it's built for 6.
Gotcha.
Well, if we do 4, we could just have 1 week of preseason where they get to put another game in, but it doesn't count.
And you do that.
But
You
then
have-
I don't increase costs.
No, it shouldn't. If it's.
It would be, yeah, you
What
don't want
is-
to add fields and, because you're driving your field cost off of the number of weeks of play. So it affects your cost.
Set to the current calendar.
Well, our current calendar is how many weeks?
So
6
if
weeks?
we had 14.
That's 6.
16.
But you remember, we
65.
talked how we're going to form the teams. We may drop down to 4 to get the right teams out there. And if that's the case, we go live on this budget.
Yeah, but I think we're gonna be at 5 teams. I really do. I mean, I don't know, maybe we will go down to 4.
So
How
how
we
do
do drop down to 4 teams? What's the issue with the preseason game?
It just increases your costs, fields costs, ref costs,
So
everything
this budget is currently set
for 3 weeks.
this is 4, this is 6, and here's 5 he's putting in. But I think we need to agree on a cost. Because are we planning for 4 or are we planning for 6? And that's the dilemma. When you drop down in teams, you're reducing their weeks of play as well. So it makes sense to charge less, but we need
I
to
was gonna
set our
say, I
price
think we
point.
should have 6, well, how many weeks did we have last year in the spring? That
We
we
always
played?
have, you take the number of teams and you, 1 less than that is regular season. So you play 1 twice.
Yeah, but how many did we play last spring? Did we play
I don't know,
6
we had
weeks?
7. Yeah,
We had
6 weeks,
17,
so we had
so we
17.
did 6 weeks because we had 17.
But I think we
But
would
the
go
week-
back
the-
to what we had 2 years ago.
2 years ago when we did a 4 week, we did a mini season. It was just 4 weeks.
I thought it was 5, so.
It was mini, yeah.
Yeah, I know it was mini. I didn't play in it that year.
And literally what we did, we had 4 teams, you just played, you switched, and then we went to a social. It was 2 time slots with 4 teams. And we played 3 weeks and then playoffs. So,
When-
I
when-
think-
Yeah, if we did it like that, we couldn't charge 65 per. I mean, because what did we charge that year that you only had 4 teams?
35 or something.
It was cheap. That first one, it was like $35 or $30. It was cheap. It basically covered the cost of printing the shirt and nothing.
about it.
That's about it.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't be able to. But did you have to pay like 3 reps, or did you just go with 1, or did you not pay them, or how did you work that
I
out?
can't remember how we did the refs. How many refs we had.
For what?
I don't know.
Because that's our major expense. Was the
What was your
reps?
question?
Is what did y'all do when you had the 4-week season 2 years ago, in respect to what was the cost per person that paid, and then because he said you paid 3 weeks plus played 3 weeks plus playoffs. What happened with the
Wasn't that also at Sportsplex?
with referees?
No, that was
It's the same, you still have
That was
3
at
per
Herman,
game.
No, is that law?
They just only had 2 time
Oh, yeah,
slots.
You had 3 per game.
Mhm.
And 2 time slots. So you only had 6 reps working 2 time slots.
And then our playoffs was actually the Bayou City Brawl.
And that's all
Yeah.
in the assumptions up here. It's all driving off of how many. But what is our current cost right now, Brian, for spring?
$65.
Okay,
Well,
So-
wait, cost or rep or
No.
price fee?
Yeah, fees.
$65.
okay. So
$250.
are we just saying we're gonna have 4 teams in the spring?
I'm just saying it's $65 because we can always do partial credits later if we decide that we're gonna. Hey, it's only gonna be 4 seasons or 4.
Or we could do the opposite, right? Charge them 75 if we drop to 4 teams, we refund $10 to everybody.
But we're not gonna charge $75 for spring.
I don't think we're gonna get it.
Yeah, you're.
I mean, what do we charge? We had
How much did we charge this year? This fall?
Okay, then over
75.
here, can we
But
do
we had
65?
early bird special, we had cheaper, we had different discount.
We're gonna do the same thing.
Come over here and take 65 there.
so how short are we gonna be?
And then we need to make that $5,000 sponsorship goal. Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, I
And
think that's what we're looking
That's
at.
2 more sponsors we would have to get.
That's for 16.
Or
2
fundraising.
more
That's
other
for
than
16.
8,
That's
or
for-
no, 2 more other than 4.
$1,000 more.
That's for 16s.
So
So put here sponsorship and fundraising.
That's what 16.
sponsorship
you said?
slash
Yeah, because it's
fundraising.
465.
Can you do that same thing on the 5? What's that nerd to be? That's only 1 more sponsored. With 5 teams. Or 5
Yeah.
weeks. 5 teams.
So what is the big hesitation with 2075 across the board regardless of seasons?
Because it's shorter. It's a shortened season.
We have 4 teams, you're only gonna get 4 weeks of play for $75.
I mean, I would just say if we keep the price consistent, but we offer something additional, with that if we have extra
Well,
money.
we do offer
Like an extra
something
shirt.
additional.
Well,
We
we have
offer
an
2
extra
extra
shirt,
weeks
yeah.
of play.
Well, I'm
in
saying
the
that-
fall.
Well, I'm saying in the
$75
spring, if
spring.
we bring in $10 extra a person, then we spend that $10. Whatever extra we have, we spend on
Yeah.
an end of season party, something that becomes purely social. Because the whole point is community building. I want to be able to. I want to know that it's going to cost the same amount every season, regardless. I plan.
I think 65 is a good price for the spring.
But he's saying we should have the same price year round.
Right. So
It's just-
75 in the
it's
fall.
Okay, so
75 in the spring.
In the fall, you have
Yeah.
2 weeks of preseason and more teams, so you have an extended season.
How
we
many,
recruit-
how many people think about
Oh, they do.
registering for football? Like, really, how much time am I getting strictly on the field versus how much time am I getting on the field socially and beyond? We want to.
I would say what we're putting together for
environment.
the spring is probably what we'll do for the fall. And if we can grow to 10 or 12 teams, then you can drop to 2 divisions and you end up just like that 5 or 6 right there.
I think when you give people an extra shirt.
And then we get away from all these.
I would say if we end up having extra money and we can give them some swag, that's branding that gets them directly back.
And that keeps it
And
consistent.
we keep a price that no matter what the outlook is going to.
I don't think you're
Play
gonna.
safe.
I don't think you're gonna lose that many people because of $10.
No.
Especially because they just played.
So
So,
I mean, the
Is
first person
65 or
that
75 a
takes
good price point?
I want to know that we're going to be safe across the board. I don't want us to risk undercutting us or trying or hoping that we fundraise or get more sponsors. if that makes sense.
Yeah, what we generally have to do is add fundraising components to our socials if we're under.
Right. Like I said, I kind of want to make sure that
So
we're
75?
comfortable,
75.
Okay, I'll add 75.
if that makes sense.
But we could still run an early bird special
We can, we can still do
to
those
get,
things.
yeah, and
We
drop
still
it.
need to do a holiday special or something.
And then
Yeah,
4,000.
but
Drop it
That
to
should be
65
65.
during that
That
time,
should be the
but
number.
have
No,
a strict
there's
cutoff.
3,000.
Yeah.
Because we gave them so many discounts last year. It was
The
like,
discounts, last year's fall discount structure was really good because it was always lower. Like you knew that it wasn't gonna be cheaper any time after
Yeah.
that.
yeah, true.
Like if you want me to create some kind of fee structure with 75 as the primary, but you just know that we've had one person pay 75.
Yeah, no,
But
75
he's
is
free,
good.
so I don't care.
Okay.
I'm very comfortable with that.
Really good.
Everybody
Okay.
else is.
So with 4 teams, we've got a sponsorship goal in fundraising for 2,500. When you go to 6 teams, it goes up to 4,000 to break even. And with 5 teams, you're in the middle of 3.
Makes sense.
We want to go over those numbers though, just so you know. We want to go over the numbers.
Huh?
So we want to go over the numbers and not stop at 2,500 to 4,000, 3,000.
Right.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
All right, so that's your spring. We did the same thing for fall. And you know, it's pretty far off, so we just basically, but here's the key takeaways, I think. If you come down,
But this is a negative
Scroll
number,
down.
right?
so this is where you add 2 weeks of preseason. With 8 teams, that's 128 players with 16 per roster because you've got that longer season. If you have this return rate of 60%, Taylor, if you could retain more than 60%, great. But if you get 60%, that's returning 61. We need to retain 61. That would be recruiting 67 new to get to 8 teams. So this is your recruiting goal that'll go into our non-executive committee
So
meeting
we
later.
return 61,
Uh-huh.
plus we get 67.
And that's why you do recruiting and retention. And we're all here to help with retention. But the bigger this number gets, the smaller that one has to be.
Makes sense.
Okay? We also need to talk through in our June meeting about coaches and how do we grow beyond that.
Well,
Do
I
we go to
think-
2 divisions, all that? We'll talk about all that after our spring is done.
Yeah,
To plan.
like I say, I think a lot of that's gonna come to us as the spring is happening, since we're
Right.
changing the spring
Right.
so severely. It's gonna have a big effect on how we decide to go forward in the fall. So I don't think some of that we can know
Right.
until after the spring is done, or at least halfway through the season, we'll start seeing things come up that we're gonna go, okay.
And you see,
I'd
you,
say that's
you're,
the return rate versus the people needed. Is it 60% coming back, right? We should be.
6% of 102.
that's right, 61.
So
Well,
160
it's
last year is
60%.
what?
If we're only looking for 40% new, then that number should be smaller.
No, because we increased the size
Oh,
of players.
going
Right
up
now,
to
we only have
128.
102 people to retain.
Oh,
And
I
we're
see what you're
increasing to 128
Gotcha.
for 18.
Gotcha. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then you see these 10 and 12, and this is where we get to that 2 division format. That's our dream. But you see that's 100 new recruits. Also in that recruiting number are former players that we get back. So it's kind of an in-between retention and recruiting. You know that, Taylor? Also in that needed number can be other players that played previously.
Like 3 years ago.
Yeah, they may not be in this 102.
We need to do a marketing campaign where we hit our people and talk about the changes we're making to our league.
Yep.
We're emphasizing the social. Like, we need to get that word out that
Right.
we're
And we're
Well,
going to do
and-
all that at the end of the meeting without. So that's our last couple hours of the meeting. But you see kind of the 10 and 12, that's where we want to get. But realistically, that's probably a 2019 goal. I'm seeing this kind
At
of
least.
becoming a 5-team spring and a 8-team fall. And we need to shift this to a predominantly gay
Number.
number. That's a lot of, shifting foundationally. As we get good coaches and get the right people in the right place, we're probably going to need to consolidate a little bit and get stronger.
I think as we drop the competitiveness in the league, you won't have any problem grabbing your gay numbers. That's what pushed away a lot of those UH.
And you're in charge of this messaging.
Okay.
You really are. And that's what we'll do the last 2 hours for. Okay? Cool. So that's our money.
And there is, just so everybody knows, there's a late registration, like the last meeting goes up to $10.
Oh, because the more teams we have, the higher the cost, so we have to increase in order to.
What's the $280 that it says for sponsorship?
So.
That's the jerseys and awards that we give them, the
Okay,
pictures.
okay, that's fine, I just didn't know what that, I was like,
Essentially,
what is that number?
that's a budget
Because
that
all
you
your
go
other
back
that
to
makes
the
sense.
sponsors to
Like
I didn't
your
know what it
referee fee
was.
was $400, and whenever you add more players, when you add more teams,